Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter she can't use her college money on her boyfriend, which caused her to break up with him? Original post. I know the title paints me as the total a-hole, but please hear me out. My 47 female daughter Sarah, 18 female, is a very smart girl. She has a 4.0 GPA. She's valedictorian of her class, and she's just gotten word from her dream college that she has received a full ride scholarship. We have a college fund for her for about $250,000. When we found out about the scholarship, we agreed that we would still give her the money to pay for other things that she would need in college, such as housing, food, etc. Well, she came home yesterday kind of sad. I asked her what was the matter. She said that she was not going to go to college anymore. Apparently, her boyfriend Brian, 19 male, told her not to go anymore. Some background on Brian. His family is very well off, and his parents have never issued discipline on this child. I mean, he is very rude and disrespectful. And although he seems sweet to my daughter when they are alone, she'll complain that whenever they're out with friends, Brian is constantly putting her down and comparing her to Instagram models. Brian is currently enrolled in college, but he has no set course of his future. He's just rolling with the cards, as Sarah says. Some other background info is that my daughter is going to school for marine biology. Well, with what my daughter told me about their conversation, she was telling Brian about her full ride scholarship and how excited she was to finally go to school for marine biology. He has never supported her dream of being a marine biologist and has always told her to go to college for a real job. When he sat her down and told her to not go to college at all, he told her to wait for him here in our town and don't worry about getting a job even, because his parents will support her and that he didn't feel comfortable with her going to college out of state and so far away. He also said that it made him feel unmanly when she has a set course of her future which will give her a good life, while he has none. After she told me what was going on, I didn't make a decision right away, but I knew that I wasn't going to just let my daughter throw away her future like this. She then asked me for her college fund so she could help support Brian's dreams. So I took time to think, and I sat her down today. I told her that she cannot have her college fund to spend on Brian. She started freaking out, asking why, and it was her money, and I asked her to listen. I asked her if she actually could see a serious future with Brian in it. She said nothing the first time, and then started crying. I asked her again more gently this time, and she admitted no while still crying. I pleaded with her to please not throw away her future for someone who can't see herself having a life with. She then nodded and went up to her room for some time to think. From what I've learned, she broke it off with Brian, and he has been calling non-stop, crying and begging to speak to her. I feel very guilty and sort of like an a-hole. Am I? Now for the top comments before reading the update. I know that the title paints me as a total a-hole, but please hear me out. No, it does not. It paints you as a responsible parent. The first thing I thought was, absolutely not. But then I read about halfway into your post and I realized that I was right. You're absolutely not a hole. The truth of the matter is that Brian is toxic and abusive. She absolutely loves him, but he clearly doesn't love her because he's willing to wreck her future in order to feel in control. You did the right thing. You're a wonderful parent. At the end of the day, most men will come and go in her life, but you'll always be there. I keep thinking if his family is so rich, he could have moved to where she was going to college. But no, I feel unmanly if I'm not superior to you. Barf. And give me your money. WTF? No. Not a hole. She shouldn't throw away her dreams and future for a guy who is so demeaning towards her and won't support her. Who says he would even come back to her even if she waits around for him. She's dodged a bullet. Yeah, 100%. He honestly sounds like he's got the makings of an abusive partner in him, and you've really helped her dodge a bullet. Give her so many cuddles. Your daughter sounds wonderful and deserves so much better. Not a hole. You probably saved her life. For real. I didn't want to be too dramatic, but yes, her life could have been so terrible for years if you hadn't stepped in. I'd go even further and say that it was terrifying Opie even had to step in, and their daughter is still at risk of this. Opie, I'd really suggest sending your daughter to therapy of some kind. It's quite possible this guy has been emotionally mistreating her for a while, and this isn't something you easily get over. You don't go from throwing away my future or dream job and money for a guy to healthy independence in one intervention. This time, Opie could intervene. She's 18 and doesn't have access to all her money yet. But eventually, she will be able to fork over $250,000 if a guy asks her. I don't count out this guy either. If he's got his tentacles in far enough that should give him $250,000, it's likely she'll still go back to him. Don't let him pour abuse over her for hours on the phone either. You can't imagine the things someone like that will say to have her taken back. And now for the update. I know that this has blown up a lot, so I'm going to post an update in the comments since I can't make a post about it. My daughter came to eat breakfast with us this morning before going to school, and her father and I had a talk with her. We told her that we loved her and that we were here for her. She said thank you and that it meant a lot to her for her to have our support. Of course she does, because we will always love and support her. We made sure to tell her that. But I told her that I did not want to ever see Brian again, and she said the feeling was mutual. I told her all of the wonderful messages and comments you guys were sending her, and some of the advice you gave, and she is very grateful. We made sure to tell her that we know it's going to be hard, but to not give in to Brian's pressuring and to block him on everything. She said that she had already done so when she ended things, and showed us her phone as proof, which she didn't need to do. We weren't going to force her because we trust her. She went off to school and I called our phone provider to change our home phone number, and my daughter's phone number, which I got her approval for. She called me while at school lunch, crying and begging me to come and pick her up. I was very confused as to why she couldn't just drive home in her car when she told me that Brian showed up during her lunch, and him and some of his friends are blocking her from getting to her car, and she is scared. I told her I was on my way, and before I left the house, I called the police non-emergency line and had them send officers over. Since the police station was closer to our school than our house, they got there first, and when I got there, Brian was in the back of a police cruiser. What happened was the cops pulled up, and the rest of his friends ran off, but Brian refused to leave because he believed he was doing nothing wrong. And when the cops asked him to leave the property since he was not a student at the school, he got aggressive and attacked one of them, and was going to be sent to the station. They asked me and my daughter if it was possible that we could go to the station to answer some questions, but that it was not mandatory. I told them no, and that I just wanted to get my daughter home, since she was still a crying mess. We got home and I sent her dad a text message about what had gone down, and I left work to head to the police station, very angry. He came home and told us that he was planning on pressing charges against Brian for harassment, and that he wanted my daughter to file a restraining order. I told my husband to calm down, since our daughter is going through such a hard time right now, and that when she is ready, we will discuss further details. We took our daughter out to dinner to treat her, which she greatly appreciated since we only really go out to dinner on holidays or super special occasions, so this was a big treat for her. We had another dinner outing planned to celebrate her scholarship, but this was just to cheer her up, and the scholarship dinner will be held at another time. We went home and watched a movie, and then I talked to my daughter about how she would feel about going on a little trip to tour her college town and get away for a while, and she happily accepted. The plan is still in motion, but it's all we have for now. That's all of the updates that I have right now, but if more interesting events unfold, I'll be sure to come back. Thank you all for your amazing advice, and my family greatly appreciates your support. Thank you for taking the time to help us even though we're strangers from the internet. I hope you all are doing as well as possible. Your update is concerning. I'm glad your daughter is doing all right, but Brian's behavior is very concerning. I think you should seriously consider the fact that Brian is a very dangerous person, and I think you need to seriously look at a restraining order. I know you guys are going through a lot right now, but you don't want this escalating, and I really think you should speak to the police and start making a record of what went down and then what happened with the breakup, so that you can protect your daughter. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but this isn't normal, and Brian has some serious issues. It's very scary. Totally agree. I see comments downplaying this because he is only 19. That means nothing. He could still end this girl if so inclined. It has already shown he is violent and entitled and has no respect for her beyond ownership. Plus, his parents have the money to bail him out and get a lawyer who will get him off, and he will be right back at it. I hope Opie goes balls to the wall with every and any legal action that can be taken. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not promising my mom that I won't contest her will and giving her anxiety? To be very clear, I'm not going to contest the will. I'm sure she paid for the best of the best when it came to lawyers, and it seems morally wrong anyway. My mom has a lot of money. I'm talking filthy rich. But she decided about 10 years ago that it will all go to her husband if he is alive or to charity. She wanted it to be very clear in her will that it was not for me or her grandchildren. I'm not going to lie and act like it doesn't bother me. As a parent, I just cannot process her decision, but I do respect that it's hers. Recently, someone randomly brought up that I'd probably contest the will. My mom said I wouldn't because that's so low and disgusting, and that she raised me better. Other family began chiming in that of course I would, because who wouldn't? My mom asked me and I just rolled my eyes and told her she'd be dead anyway. I don't know why I'm doing this. Probably just because I feel she's being so ridiculous. That was a few weeks ago, and her husband called and asked me to reach out and talk to her because it's been giving her a lot of anxiety. I said she's being dumb and can figure her own anxiety out. I never made a joke, I never said anything, and this whole situation is dumb. Now for the comments. Not stay home. She made it very clear that you are not a priority in her life or afterlife. Don't let her or her anxiety be a priority to you now. Honestly, I'm surprised she can stand to be in the same room as her mother after she said that. It would be enough for me to go no contact. It sounds like the husband is a stepdad too, since Opie said her mother's husband. Just adds insult to injury. Not stay home. Not stay home. I won't lie. If my parents were filthy rich and they told me they weren't leaving me a dime, I'd be a bit salty about it. I think you've done the right thing by saying you won't contest it, even if you ultimately end up doing so. Filthy rich or not, leaving your kids out of your will is a statement that they don't really matter to you. Mom has every right to do what she wants with her money, but she's filthy rich and doesn't even want to give anything to her grandkids? Yeah, I wouldn't feel great about that either if it was my mom. Not stay home. And of course, her husband wants to make sure you won't be contesting the will. He's the one who stands to benefit from this while her children and grandchildren are being slighted. Well, he'd definitely get it if he was alive anyway, as spouses are the next of kin. But the issue is more of, if he's dead, I'd have some ground to contest it all going to charity. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for sharing a bed with my 20 female brother, 26 male? I know this story may sound absurd, but bear with me, please. So, I'm a college student and I've been living with my boyfriend, 21 male, since last year. I'm attending an out-of-state university, by the way. My brother had some business to do in a nearby city from today till Friday. He decided to take a little detour and arrive at my place on Saturday and spend a weekend with me, then take an early morning flight to his destination on Monday since it's close by. He had a very busy and tiring day prior to his arrival though. So I told him that I was going to leave the door unlocked and he could just come in as I didn't want to be woken up. He was supposed to get to my apartment at around 6 a.m. My boyfriend left on Friday to spend the night at his parents' house because his mom was not feeling well, and he knew that my brother was coming over. My brother arrives on Saturday at around 6:30 a.m. He tries to wake me up, but to no avail. He tells me, "If you're not going to wake up, at least let me get into bed because it's cold and I'm sleepy too." I say okay, and he gets in. We immediately fall asleep. My boyfriend's yelling wakes us up at around 10:30 a.m. He starts saying how this is basically cheating, asking if we hooked up, if we're in an inappropriate relationship, etc. That this is absolutely disgusting, and mega inappropriate, and other delusional things like that. I tell him that we've always shared a bed while living at home, and that this is 100% platonic. He lets me know that we were snuggling under the blankets while sleeping. I tell him, yeah, that's what people do when they share a bed and it's cold. I start to get really angry at him at this point for constantly trying to sexualize me and my brother's relationship. So I tell him that I'm going to spend a weekend with my brother at a hotel, and until I come back, he better learn how to manage this irrational jealousy of his. I'm back at my apartment now, but my boyfriend gives me the cold shoulder. Not stay home. Is he an only child? Just curious. Some people can't understand sibling bonds. Either an only child or siblings who doesn't have a good relationship. Even then, friends cuddle sometimes too. Siblings even more so. I have a nephew whom I live with. We look more like siblings than aunt and nephew. And on a typical free time, we would be on the couch, legs tangled together while I'm on my phone and he on his Switch. It's normal. If he doesn't change his stance on this, you should break up with him. Next thing you know, he's gonna sexualize you and your father's relationship when he gives you a hug and a kiss. Or, God forbid, when he walks you down the aisle. Yeah, he's an only child. Yep, there it is. When you guys speak of the topic again, point that out. Not so harshly, of course. I grew up an only child. I was already 15 when I discovered I had half siblings, and I understand that there are a lot of things I can never relate to. But I hate it when people say you won't understand because you have no siblings. Because my response would be, then make me understand. You should find out where you two are gonna go after this. Because if he doesn't try, family first. Of course, this is only because you love your family. Otherwise, that's a different story. Your boyfriend has seen too much incest adult materials. It is absolutely okay to snuggle a sibling when cold and in bed. Unless you guys were touching in appropriate places, it wouldn't bother me, on its own, if I were in your boyfriend's place. I was waiting to see this comment. This was my second thought after, WTF is this dude's problem? Not stay home. This is his weird issue. I guess it is privilege too. I mean, it is really like only a few hundred years since every family lived in one room. Less than a few. My father is from 1941, and when he was young, they had an apartment with one bedroom for his parents, him and his sister. They didn't get their own rooms until my grandparents had enough money for a house later. My father was born in the 50s and was one of the 10 in a 3-bedroom house, though they did at least have a boys' room and a girls' room. Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter's father we are not a family? Plus updates. Original post. I, 33 female, am a single mother to a 6-year-old girl. I've raised my daughter all on my own. She was born from a one-night stand with a now former friend, 37 male. We never got together, and he refused to be involved in my pregnancy or my daughter's first 4 years of life. I was stressed out emotionally because it's a big change, but I never asked for child support or force him to be involved. I have enough income to send my daughter to private school. I'm perfectly fine on my own. The issue started when he reappeared from wherever he went and decided he wanted visitation. He's not in my daughter's birth certificate. Father is listed as unknown. He wanted to have that amended. I said no, and that if he wants, best he'll get is to meet her in outings with myself or my daughter's godparents. He agreed, but he's been constantly pressuring getting parental rights. Court already gave him a big fat no unless he pays 4 years of child support, which with his income goes somewhere around $230,000 US. He hasn't paid a cent. My daughter doesn't even call him dad or recognize him as dad. She calls him Mr. I keep it very clean. I never bad talked him, never made up stories. Even during court, the assigned CPS agent testified that my daughter had no affection or clear relationship with her biological father. Now, the main issue happened in a PTA meeting. He would say things like, my family thinks or what is best for my family. I didn't agree with him and voiced by saying my daughter has different needs and those are priority. He was clearly angry. After the meeting, there was a moment for teachers and parents to mingle and just talk how the kids are doing. One of the teachers approached me to apologize, saying she didn't know my husband and I didn't like a project she was doing with the kids. I told her I had no husband, and my daughter loved the project and wants to be part of it. The teacher then told me that my former friend was going around talking like he's my husband, and he represents the family. I saw red. I walked to him and very loudly told him we needed to talk in private. In a parking lot, I told him we were not a family, and that he either will respect I'm the only one that can make decisions on my daughter's education, or he won't be involved. He went on about being her biological father, so I reminded him he had not paid a cent for the pregnancy, my daughter's needs, or even the private school my daughter is in. He hasn't tried to see my daughter since, which she doesn't mind at all. I ask her. I do feel a bit bad about what I said. Am I the a-hole? I wanted to add this because the PMs are driving me insane. He has the money to pay child support. He chose not to pay. He was never prohibited from being involved. He had my phone number. I sent him a picture and invited him to birthdays and other big celebrations. He never came. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Why is he in a PTA meeting with you? Have you told the school that he can't pick her up? Not the a-hole. He decided to leave and did not support you during the pregnancy or the first 4 years of her life. He is not a parent. He might be the father in the sense that he is the bio parent, but he's not a father to your daughter. He actually forced himself into the meeting. I wanted to give it a chance for him to be involved. I didn't expect him to act this way though. And how exactly did he know time/place? The school has a public schedule in his website. He knows the school she attends. And with him not even being on the birth certificate, why didn't you just tell anyone, admin, teacher, etc., that he had no legal relationship with your child? Why didn't the teachers ask? How did the teachers not know he wasn't your husband? A private school has much fewer students. Haven't you met and talked to your kid's teacher? So many questions. To be fair, I've kept my family situation very private. It's not well seeing where I live to be a single mother. Most people assume I'm either a widow or my husband is overseas. Admin knew, but I had no real time to correct him. Plus, I didn't want to make too big a scene. It's why I took it to the parking lot. Next time, make a scene. It also informed the school, teachers, admins, even the school board and other parents. It happens way too often still in this day and age that a mommy or a daddy who isn't in the picture or who doesn't have custody visitation rights to see the child by themselves pick kids up from their school, and no one at the school was ever informed that these troubles exist. Now for the first update. I, 33 female, going to preface this by saying my 6-year-old's daughter's father, 37 male, I'm going to call him Jeff, has never been my romantic partner. We had a one-night stand. I don't like people calling him my ex, since it makes it seem we had some kind of emotional attachment. He was never involved after I told him I was pregnant and actually wanted me to terminate the pregnancy. But I decided to raise my child alone, since I have enough money to raise her without child support. For the whole pregnancy and the first 4 years, Jeff was not in the picture. On my mother's recommendation, I did send him pictures and invited him to special events, but he always replied he had no interest in my daughter. 2 years ago, he reappeared and began demanding parental rights. When I didn't do what he wanted, he sued and was told no, he was not getting parental rights. He was given the offer to pay child support and then we can revisit giving him actual rights, but he has refused. He has the money, much more than me, but he refuses. I still offered to let him see my daughter in a casual manner. No child support needed, with the agreement that anything legal, medical, or educational will not involve him. He pushed the boundaries and we had a fallout. After that, we didn't hear from him for almost 6 weeks before he called to meet for Christmas. After much discussion, I agreed to bring my daughter over, on the condition my daughter's godparents could come. Thus, we went over for Christmas dinner. And finding out Jeff is married and had never told his family he had a child. It was great to be judged by a bunch of strangers. It was uncomfortable the whole time. I'm going to use fake names, but let's say my daughter's name is Katie. His wife kept calling my daughter Gabrielle. Not the actual name she used, but it was that different to my daughter's name. The wife was also very physical, trying to pick up my daughter or parent her. I would block her or tell her to please let me deal with my child. The whole time she pretty much ignored me, but Katie didn't seem nervous. So I decided to just bid my time. I hit my limit when my daughter said she needed a bathroom, and the stranger went, "Oh, Gabby, you need potty? Let mommy change you." My daughter hasn't worn diapers in a while now, and she's more than capable of going alone to the bathroom. I immediately told her to stay away from my daughter, and that we were leaving. The woman started wailing that I was kidnapping her baby girl, and tried to lunge at me. Her in-laws got to the middle and held her, consoling her, and saying that we weren't leaving and for her to calm down like she was the victim. At that point, I just glared at Jeff and told him he better explain or I would be calling the police. He asked me to speak in private in another room and that I could just leave my daughter with his parents. No way that would ever happen. Katie's godparents took her with them despite the wife having a full meltdown. Jeff and I spoke outside, and he explained that he and his wife recently lost a daughter. I'm not going to give specific details on that. All I'll say is it was sudden and nobody's fault. And as I can only imagine, it had caused some psychological issues to his wife. Apparently, he had a brilliant idea that having Katie passed as their lost child would help his wife, without telling me. And that's why he wanted visitations and parental rights. He pleaded for me to leave my daughter with him for a little bit. But I asked him what was his plan when his wife heals. His response was disgusting. Well, I'll just send Katie back with you and it will be just like before. I told him he was insane if he thought I would let him use my daughter like that. What his wife needs is therapy with a professional, not feeding her delusions. And I would not let that woman within miles from my daughter. He told me I was being cruel and didn't know the pain of losing a child. I agreed with him, but reminded Jeff that my priority is not his family. It's my child. What he and his family do to work through their grief has nothing to do with us. I also told him to call his lawyer because I'm making sure he never has contact with my child. So that's what I'm bracing for. He's been blasting my phone since Christmas, but I can easily ignore him. My daughter and I are doing a small travel vacation. You should probably get a restraining order, since I can definitely see him, his wife, or other family members trying to kidnap your daughter. I would show pictures to her school and other caretakers and let them know the situation. Your daughter's sperm donor is dealing with some grief issues of his own, and like his wife, has gone off the deep end. You need to get protection in place ASAP, since most children are kidnapped by family. We're planning for my daughter to stay for a little with her godparents. They can drop her and pick her at school while I'll deal with the legal stuff. Absolutely going for a restraining order. Any chance he's dumb enough to text you any of the things he said? Would be nice to have a paper trail for the courts, instead of just your word versus his. Oh, he has texted some stuff. Not his whole brilliant idea, but enough to be creepy. Doesn't help he doesn't use my daughter's name, but the name his wife was using. Sounds like they live in Delulu land. You are 100% right to set these boundaries. Just do yourself a favor and make sure your lawyer knows what's up next week and be prepared to get that order of protection ready. I found out on the 26th. I sent him an email and he called me in minutes after. Careful they don't try to kidnap her from daycare or school or something. Edit. Just something I feel needs to be said. My daughter is set for life monetarily. She has a trust that I make really good money in my position. If she was 18 right now, I could put her through college without a loan. She doesn't need child support for quality of life. If I could get child support to never worry about her father trying something, I would be suing him in a heartbeat. But after talking to a lawyer and realizing the risk, I've taken the decision that child support or possible inheritance is not worth my child's safety. Safety is always first. January 6, 2024. Hey everyone, Happy New Year's! This isn't so much a real update as just letting people know we are home and safe. My daughter is spending the rest of her vacation with her godparents on another trip while I work on things. Moving might be something I'll be looking into, though that is a long-term plan considering all it takes. I won't share too many details on what my lawyer is going to be doing, but we are absolutely going to push for a restraining order. I might not post for some time, at least not until things settled. I do appreciate all the support and good advice. I'm taking a lot of it into account as I plan how to move forward. Now for the second update. Hey everyone, I decided to post a last update since I will be going full silent for a long period. For those that didn't know, I'm right now dealing with my daughter's father and his delusions. He wants to use my daughter as a therapy doll for his wife that recently lost a child. A lot of people were worried for my daughter and me, and I truly appreciate it. We're both safe. She's currently having a great vacation with her godparents, and I'm currently making my own arrangements to move on. My lawyer is working hard in keeping everything in order. I know a cease and desist was his first action, and we are going for no contact. He says we have a solid case, and hopefully this will be resolved relatively fast. And by that, I mean a year or two. We did get a temporary restraining order. It's only until our first court date, but after, it could be extended. I haven't had direct contact with Jeff. He lawyered up too and tried to send a threat to take full custody. My lawyer laughed at it, since his reasoning was parental alienation. Except I have proof I tried for years to have him involved. Apparently, turning in a few emails showing my attempts was enough to get them to change parental alienation to a different reasoning. My lawyer is not worried in all honesty. For now, I've decided after much thinking that moving is going to be necessary. It won't be something I can do on a whim, but I'll be looking into new houses within the month to hopefully move sometime this year. School will remain the same, but we will be speaking to the admin to make sure only certain people can pick her up. And part of that decision has been to hire a private driver. He's someone I absolutely trust and has worked for relatives in the past, so I'm very comfortable with the idea, and so is my daughter. Now I just have to make sure they don't go for fast food every day after school. Things in all honesty are not that scary right now. I have a good lawyer, good evidence, and my little girl is happy and healthy, so I'm just going to focus on working things little by little. Because of the legal proceedings, I don't think I'll be posting any updates anytime soon. And to those sending me PMs telling me I'm horrible for keeping my daughter from her father, or telling me I shouldn't have had her in the first place, please kindly speak to the void. I'm too busy. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my dad's wife with her baby and saying I am not her helper? Dad and I, 17 male, do not have a good relationship. When my mom was sick with cancer, my dad was out cheating on her, and he left me to take care of my younger siblings, 12 female and 11 male. He even let me catch him with 2 different women during that time, and my mom was in hospice, so it was really difficult not to say anything. But I was so overwhelmed and scared that saying the wrong thing would take her from us sooner. This was 4 years ago, and I never forgave him for what he put me through. I told him before that I never want to be like him when I grow up, and he is no role model for me. I also called him a failure as a husband and a father. He was mad at being called a failure as a father. But when his 3 kids needed him the most, he wasn't there. Instead, he was screwing women on the side. He also said he loved my mom and never wanted me to say he was all bad as her husband. I said I found it so hard to believe, and he would never convince me he actually loved her. I was still mostly in charge after mom died, but eventually my siblings started to pick up some skills, so I wasn't basically doing it all. It really helped and made us regular siblings again, instead of me being almost a dad. But it was also tough, because they're really young, and I hated that they were forced to grow up so fast. Losing mom did that anyway. Dad met someone a couple of years ago, and he introduced her to us last year, and it took only a few weeks for her to move in. Then suddenly, she's pregnant, and they raced to get married. My dad's wife tried to involve my siblings and me in her pregnancy excitement, but I wasn't excited, and I don't think they were either. I'm pretty sure we all avoided her as much as we could. The baby was born in December, and she has been reaching out to me to help pretty often. But I don't help her. I check in on my siblings where I can, but other than that, I focus on me. I know biologically that baby is my half-sibling, but I don't care. I don't see them as a sibling, and I'm not planning to bond with them or keep them in my life once I'm in college. I won't speak to Dad either, just my siblings. Recently, Dad's wife has been pressing more for my help, and the other day she asked me why I could be such a great big brother to my younger siblings, but I have never even held her baby or cooed over her baby. She told me she sees me do so much for my siblings, and knows I was the person who helped them through when mom was sick, and then when she died. She told me she figured I would want to be the same for her baby. I told her it wasn't my job to help, and to get her husband to help if she needed it. She told me she wanted her baby to be accepted, and none of us had accepted the baby yet. None of us had interacted with the baby yet. She said it's not fair, and she needs help. I told her I'm not her helper, and she needs to hire someone if she wants to help, or again, get Dad. But I won't be doing anything for her or her baby. She called me disgusting. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If it were me, I would tell her all the nitty-gritty details of exactly why you had to be there for your siblings, so that she understands why you're not interested in your dad's new family. She knows the details. She has attempted to defend my dad in the past, even though he doesn't even try to better his relationship with me. Tell her you were sick of being parentified while your mom was dying and your dad was just interested in his next fling rather than caring for his kids. You want a life. She is fit and healthy. She should look after her own baby, or the dad should step up. Not the a-hole. If you live at home, try to spend time at library, etc. I work so I can get out ASAP. That's where I spend a lot of time when I'm not at school or checking in on my siblings. Please make sure that you're the only one that can access the money that you've been earning. I am. I don't even think he knows I have a job. She doesn't for sure.